Hi, it's Skip from Skip's Messy Workbench, and I've got two projects going right now. One is the 31 Model A, but this video is about the B9 robot from Lost in Space, because I've been working on both of those kits, so I haven't done an update on the B9 in quite a while. And the video that you're about to see is pieces of video that I shot starting in July of 2024 and up until today, which is May the 9th. So it's been, many months that I've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth between projects, and the B9 always gets shoved off to the side a little bit because I'm doing a whole lot of stuff to that I've never done, and the kit wasn't made to do what I'm doing with it. Anyway, so I'm still working on the brain section of it, and I've got that mostly figured out now as to how we're going to do that. So why don't you watch this, and remember, the first couple of clips or the first couple of sections are from 2024, way back in July. And then the last section I did today, May the 9th, 2025. So, hey, thanks for watching, and stick around. Follow me down to the shop. See you there.
This project is extremely dangerous.
I've been working on the B9 robot, mainly the brain part of it, and I have the parts here. I have some of the parts here for the brain. So this is the bottom plate, this is the top plate, and they go together, and they're actually keyed. And there's a little key locator, and you could see here probably there's a little key locator in here, so they get put together so that the keys line up, and difficult again at the angle that I'm sitting at, so they sandwich together like this, just like that. And then this piece back here, which I have here, this piece right here is where all those fingers come out. If you recall, I'll put a picture up here in the corner, but there's finger lights that come out of this. This actually goes in here, and that's also keyed, and you can see that I have an extra hole drilled here. And that is so that I can fish wiring, so that I can get the lighting inside this unit. So this gets inserted in here as like that. And then up on the top is the crown. And the crown gets mounted up on top like that. So this is just part of the brain. Now there are other pieces. There are these pieces right here. There's 4 of these that then go along the edges. Now this was a little time consuming in the fact that, this was originally clear plastic. So when I painted them, naturally, I'm sorry, I'm trying to reach over here to get something, but without major bumping of the camera. So when I painted these, all of this hieroglyphics in here had to be scraped out. And it was a time-consuming job, but when I put a light behind it, now I think you can see that they are now open. Those are the eyes, that and that are the eyes. So I got those hieroglyphic stuff open on all the pieces. So here's the other two pieces of it. So I've got that all taken care of. And like I said, these get mounted on the edge of the brain. Now the hard part, or it's not, I want to say it's hard. It's the part that I struggled with for a while is getting the lighting for this. And I'm still working on that. I don't know what I'm about to do is going to work, because this gap here, I just got to keep making sure that my big hands aren't in the way. This gap here is 3 millimeters. So I have 3 millimeter LEDs. You know, that's a 3 millimeter LED, which says that it's 3 millimeters across this base part here, the very bottom part. So naturally 3 millimeters does not fit into 3 millimeters. It's the angle that I'm working at, folks, that is making it hard to okay, there we go. 3 millimeters is hard to get in. See, as you can see, the LED, no, maybe you can't see, the LED goes in, as you can see here at the top, maybe because my big hand's in the way. The LED goes in, but it won't go all the way in because the rim at the end is too big. So I've watched other videos where some people have taken this rim section and just sanded it down. And I thought about doing that. However, I'm afraid it takes away from the integrity of the LED, physical integrity of the LED. So I decided I wasn't going to do that. I had a subscriber also recommend a website to me about where I can get some very small LEDs. By the time I got that comment, I had already found some, but I want to thank that person anyway, because it's a great website for tiny lighting and tiny electronic parts. So I did find some very small LEDs at a company called Adafruit, and these are the LEDs that I found. And as always, I got to do something with the lighting from in here, because I'm so disappointed with my lighting. Anyway, these are the LEDs. You don't need to hear me complain about that. Anyway, these are my LEDs that I got, and there's 5 of them in here, and they're pre-wired, and they are on what's called an 0805, and that's a surface mount designation for package size. The package size, and you know, here's one right here. Now, let me see if I can get something white to hold up in the back of that, so that it shows up a little better. I don't know if that's going to show up better or not, because believe it or not, that's an LED. Get some extra light down there. This is an LED, and that LED is 1.25 millimeters this way by 1 millimeter this way. Oh, I'm sorry, 1.25 this way by 1 by 2 millimeters this way, and then it's 1 millimeter thick. So naturally they will fit in there very nicely. They are pre-wired with, this is either 28 gauge or 30 gauge wire, which is great because I didn't have to drill that big of a hole to fit all the wiring down through. So all I was able to get is I want it white because that's what color it is. However, all they made, at least there that I found, was what's called cool white. I'll deal with that. But anyway, I have some of them wired up to a battery back here. Let me just clip this on. And I don't know if you can see there's one lit. And I must have lost a connection here because there, we got it. I got it back. My connections are not very good because I was just experimenting. There we go. There's 3 of them lit, 4 of them lit, and there is another one over here, believe it or not. I used to always say in industry, because we used to wind coils with really tiny wire, it's like if I can't see the wire, it doesn't exist. But there's another one. So they're all lit up, and they are not very, I mean, they're bright, but they're not very white because they're cool whites. So I'll deal with that. I think I can make this work. So I'm going to get these mounted up inside the brain, and we'll see how this works. All right, I'll be back when that gets done. So here we are. I have the brain just taped together, and I think my microphone is on. Let me double check. I think it's on, because I don't think I turned it off. Yeah, it's on. Okay. So I just taped the head together with some of the LEDs inside of it. And right now I have them turned off, and they are not going to blink yet. I'm just going to have them on solid. So if I turn them on, you can see, I think, on camera. Let me turn this light off. I think you can see on camera. Let me turn, actually I'm going to turn the overhead lights off too. And you can see that I do have them in there, and they are lighting up. They're just not blinking yet. And that's okay, because they'll be blinking off of the same circuit that the chest lights blink off of. But that's going to work just fine. I'm going to take this apart so you can just see what I did and how I put those in there. So let me turn the lights back on. And all I did here was, let me just take this tape off, and this will come right apart. There we go. And as you can see, all I did there was I used some small tape and just taped them down. Now in the final build, I'll probably put something more sticky there than this tape, or I may not. All right, and I actually may want to add, and I have room yet, I can still add, I may want to add another LED or so in here. I may want to add one like here, and one over in here, and one over in here yet. I'll see about that. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do that yet. And then also, the eyes are up here. I have to see, you know, before I had this model, I didn't even know the B9 had eyes. So I've got to watch some video, or I've got to look at some pictures to see whether or not they actually light up. Because if they do, it's an easy thing. I've got a lot of room here, right in here, to put 2 more LEDs. I may have to open the hole up a little bit just to get more wires through, but that's not an issue either. I've got lots of room. So that's the brain part of it. At least I've got that lighting worked out for it. And I also have, I started at least, let's see if I can get this out of here without destroying things. So I've started working here on the top, and this goes in here like so. So that's starting to look more like the robot. And then the brain goes on top of this yet. So that's getting there. And I think that's about all I'm going to do for this segment of the video. And let me continue on here, and I'll be back when I've made a little more progress. Okay, hi. If the audio is a little strange, I'm using the microphone that's built into the camera this time instead of my lapel mic. Anyway, I just wanted to show you I've showed this before. This is the B9 robot chest, but I also have the brain done. Well, the brain together, I should say. It's not nowhere near finished yet, but that's the brain together. And I have it all wired. Let me turn this on. It's going to go through a lamp test first. And you can see, now I've got the shop lights off except for a little light above this. So these LEDs are pretty overpowering at this point. But I've got all of this working and pretty much random. The buttons in here on camera is difficult to see, but it's yellow, green, red, green, yellow, and I've got to do something to shield some of that lighting to make it more pronounced. But it is when you're not looking at it on the camera. It's just that on the camera these LEDs are flooding everything, and you can see up here in the brain that. And I just have it setting on top of the wires. The wires are actually holding it in place. You can see I have the brain also. Oh, there goes the crown. The brain randomly blinking. Also, let me turn this overhead light off yet. And there you can see absolutely the brain, and you can see the back side of it too is working. So the brain is actually working also. So that was a challenge. You saw the video, I think, where I found those little tiny LEDs to put up in the brain area here. So we're getting there. We're getting there. So let me turn the shop lights on. And with the shop lights on, you can see the LEDs don't flood things as much, but then you can't really see the LEDs in the brain very easily. The one thing I had wanted to do was underneath the brain, there is this piece. If I can get my big hand out of the way. There is this piece. See if I can hold it here with something. There is this piece here which goes right underneath the brain. The brain sits on top of this, and then out of these small holes along the edge here are some fingers that come out that on the real robot light up. I've been wanting to do that, and I even have some fiber optic that would fit in here. However, I don't think there's, it's not that I don't think, I know, at least at this point in time, there is not enough room to get the fiber optic then fished down through here to a point where, you know, I can get lighting on that. I'm not going to give up yet, but I don't see that happening. It's just too small. There's just not enough room. So that's that. I'm going to be starting to assemble this thing and get some paint on it and stuff. So, you know, it's been a while, but I've made I've made quite a bit of headway with it. So, you know, that's where I am right now, and yeah. So if you go to my website, you'll also see the schematics for all this. You will also see the program code that I'm using, and even though you can't see it back here, you know, back here is an Arduino Micro that's doing all of this control work, and I have an explanation. I'll have an explanation for the program code and the program code that you can download if you're interested. It'll run on a Micro, a Nano, an Arduino, the Uno. It should run on pretty much any of the Arduinos because it's very generic code. So anyway, now that my air conditioning blower turned on, I'm gonna say so long, and I'll see you again. Bye. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm making a way for put the crown lights, or the brain crown lights, on the B9 robot, and this is actually where this is the piece where they will be placed, and each one of these slot/holes gets one of the lights. So when you see what's supposed to go in there, I'm sorry, I'm doing this one-handed here. So when you see what's going in there, it's this little transparent thing. Let me grab it with a tweezers. So it's this guy right here, and this end of it would be a light bulb, and then this is just a rod that goes in to that housing right there. So it was I didn't have any way, or I couldn't think of any way. I wanted to get these to light up, because they do light. These little bulbs light up, and there's 7 of them. So what I did, and here's what I'm doing. So let me just get this back, because I don't want to lose this in case what I'm doing fails. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these little tiny LEDs, and these are little tiny LEDs. I'm using my cell phone here, and I can't find my lens. Where are you? Okay. So I'm using these little tiny LEDs, which are right there. And I measured out about 20 millimeters to this clamp. And I am dipping them in some Mod Podge. And here's some that I've already dipped. Now this is clear. This is, it's a transparent gloss luster clear. So these were just dipped. And all I do is I take these and into the Mod Podge, and I just take them and I swirl a little bit and I dip, and when it comes out I just set it here to dry. So I'm going to see how that works. It's really making my own little rod, and also the LED will be at the end, and when it dries clear you won't see any of that Mod Podge. So that's what I'm doing right now for the B9, and we'll come back in a minute or two, or a second or two, or I don't know, sometime. All right, talk to you soon. Okay, I'm going to finish up this video with one short little clip here yet. I have these two halves glued together. What I had to do was the LEDs that are internal to this, I literally used some Molotov on it, and I'm not Molotov, what am I talking about? Mod Podge on them to hold them in place and then be able to lift them up. As you can see here, I was able to lift them up to get them more centered. So I put 2 on each side, and I can position these simply to move them out a little bit if I need to. What I also did here was I added 2 additional ones for the eyes, and they will go in behind these 2 locations to give it the eyes that are lit up also. Now, I had done the Mod Podge stuff on the LEDs. I gotta find it. Here it is. On the LEDs. Now, what I'm going to be doing with this is this part of it from like here back, I'm going to be painting either silver or brass or something for the rod, and then just leave the end of this open for the LED, for the light. And then they will lay in this base right here, and they'll lay in, each one of them will lay in one of these tubes or one of these slots in here. And what's nice now is I'll be able to bend them so that they will actually be able to be at different angles, because that's the way they were in the actual robot. Now, the problem, I have a hole here to run the wiring through. This hole right here to run that wiring through, and that hole actually lines up with this hole so that these wires could go straight down through, because this cap gets set down on top of here in that orientation right there. However, with these and then the addition of 7 more of these, this hole is not going to be big enough, and I don't want to have to make that any bigger. So my plan is all the blue wires on these LEDs are the negative side. It goes to the negative, the power supply. So my plan is to take all the blue ones and just tie them together so that there's only 1 blue wire coming out. And the same thing will happen with this section. Only 1 blue wire has to come out. And then just the red ones, which are the positive side, which will then go to my blink circuit. So I may have to pry this apart again so that I can tuck the blue wire connection up inside. I haven't decided whether I want to take it apart. I just glued it together with Mod Podge, so I know it'll come apart, but we'll see. So that's where I'm at with this thing. I want to really get this brain done and working, because after that the rest of this is going to go together really quickly. I got a lot of painting to do on it yet, but the rest of it's going to go together really quickly, and I am not going to be motorizing the feet on it like I had planned. And the reason is because at this point in time, I don't see that there's enough physical space within the standalone kit, the model, to fit what I would need to fit. And it's mostly battery, it's mostly the power source. So at this point in time, at least, I am not going to be adding motors to the feet or the torso to rotate. But all the lights and stuff will be blinking, and it will have sound. It will be able to talk. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now, and I've been working on this, and I've been also working on the 31 Model A. So I got 2 of these projects going, but I just had this brainchild here, so I wanted to jump back on the robot for a little bit. So that's about it for this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
tapes are all worn out.
I suggest that everyone return to the spaceship and resume work in the morning.